Spell your last name.
Morehouse, Morehouse.
And what company are you with?
Fitzgerald and Halliday.
Oh.
So Francisco was the chief planner for many of these improvements. So I don't know the details that Francisco knows, but I am familiar with the corridor in general. And just my credentials, I've been in the business for almost 25 years. I'm a professional engineer, working in transportation engineering and planning. Very familiar with corridors like Route 6, worked on many throughout the state. And they're always challenging, right? Because these are state routes that really provide kind of a regional mobility function. And particularly, from a design standard perspective, they've been designed for capacity and speed primarily. But, over time, as corridors develop, there becomes kind of a conflict between that regional mobility function and the local objectives that you have as a town and a city in terms of promoting economic growth and providing access to property and pedestrian and bicyclist safety. So you get to a point where these things are really at odds with one another. But we really want to take a look at things that we can improve over time that will help sort of reverse some of the trends that we see in the corridor. And then, to the extent we can, bicycle and pedestrian enhancements, completing the sidewalk network, maybe making the sidewalk a little bit more comfortable, wider, more buffer area between the roads. So those are kind of the things we would look at on a corridor like this. And if you go to the next slide, there's just a summary of these things. I think I pretty much talked about them. But really evaluate the role of the collectors and side streets with Route 6, addressing those intersections, making sure that they're safe, they're well marked, they have pedestrian crossings and all of that. The sidewalk network, we know that the improvements to Route 6 that the state's contemplating for Farmington Avenue, there's an opportunity to provide better sidewalks in those areas. So we think continuing that dialogue with DOT is important. But also, any new construction project, look to make that a condition of approval to provide public sidewalks. And certainly make the marked crosswalks much more pronounced and visible. I mean, that's going to be really key if you really want to promote, walkability in the corridor. And also complete some of the gaps from the side streets to Route 6. If you want the communities and the neighborhoods off of Route 6 to access Route 6 on foot, give them a sidewalk. So. Transit, you've got a couple of bus lines on the corridor. No real opportunity right now for shelters, benches, anything really comfortable from a transit perspective. Again, if you want to encourage transit ridership and again provide opportunities for those users to have a kind of a better level of service, that's something you should identify in key locations. And then to the extent possible, bicycle accommodations. Very difficult, obviously, within your curb-to-curb width. You have, inconsistent shoulder space and not a lot of room to expand, but there may be some opportunities for some off-road paths in the locations where bicyclists would particularly go, and then providing linkages to the neighborhoods and places off of the corridor. So I think that wraps up those recommendations, and if you don't have any questions, I'll pass it back to Carol.